Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 1967 Volkswagen Karmann Ghia. Now this was produced between 1955 and 1974, with more than 445,000 being built, 364,000 of those being this coupe style, and a further 80,000 being the convertible, and less than 20,000 being a version called the TC, which was a touring coupe, which I think looks nearly as good as this, but certainly had a bit more sporting potential on the go. And yeah, it gets its name from two different companies. The first of which were involved as doing the hand-built bodywork, and they were German coach builders Karmann. And the styling was done by Carrozzeria Ghia, who were from Italy, who as I said, did the styling. So that's where the Ghia name comes from, Karmann Ghia. So yeah, and obviously it's a Volkswagen. And yeah, so Volkswagen basically provided the chassis and the mechanicals from a Beetle. The styling company Ghia did the styling, and then the German coach builders built the bodywork and the interior. And yeah, which just shows that you can have three different companies coming together to make a really rather good car. And even though it didn't sell anywhere in the numbers of the Beetle or the Type 2 or the Type 3, it's still a really cracking vehicle and easily one of my favourite Volkswagens. First reason is the styling, which I love, really do, and a lot of that comes down to how it was built as well as the styling itself. Because yeah, it's got a really rather unbroken line of, flowing arches and the like, which comes down to the fact of the way it was built. Because outside of the front trunk and the doors and the rear bonnet, it's all one piece of metal pretty much, just welded on the inside rather than the outside, while having no bodywork bits bolted on, like say if a Beetle had bolted on fenders. So it's got none of that to break the lines of the vehicle style, which makes it look really good. Granted, doesn't make it all that practical to repair or replace any broken parts or damaged parts in a crash, but yeah, style over practicality in that regards is something that I'm not really bothered about. And at the end of the day, it's still a practical car. It was actually marketed as a practical and stylish 2+2 rather than a true sports car, and you can see that when you look on inside, because yeah, it's got plenty of room for the passenger and the driver, and a decent amount of room for the two people that you'll get in the back, though they really shouldn't be all that tall, because yeah, it does obviously have the sloping roof of a typical coupe. And yeah, it's also got a decent sized front trunk. Not quite as big as a Beetle, but still really rather spacious. Only problem with it is obviously the fact you have to share it with the fuel tank, which yeah, might make whatever you put in there smell of fuel a little bit. But yeah, I really do like the interior as well. It looks far better than a Beetle, which we have to compare against on this game. Granted, the Beetle we have to compare against on this game is 4 years older than this, but even so, the interior does look a whole lot better, especially with the wood dash and the extra dial or two that you get to have a look at. So yeah, really do like it, and yeah, plenty of space in there for yourself and your passengers. And yeah, even though it does share the same mechanics and the chassis as a Beetle, which is where the engine comes from as well, which got revised every time the Beetle's engines did, it's still a really rather good sports car, even if it's not entirely what they were going for. And yeah, the engine itself, like I said, is shared with the Beetle at 1.5 litres. It's a flat 4, producing 53 horsepower and 78 pounds-feet of torque, which isn't all that much. The Type 3, which we also have on this game, has slightly more horsepower from a slightly larger engine, 12 extra horsepower and an extra 9 extra pounds-feet of torque, which I think would be of benefit to this car. Now, you could get that engine in this car at a later date, but unfortunately we don't have that engine in this car, and nor can you swap it into this car either, which is a big shame, because that extra bit of horsepower and extra bit of torque from that slightly larger engine would bring up the sports car element up a little bit, because obviously, like I said, they marketed it as a practical and stylish 2+2, didn't really go for the sports car angle, but if it had that engine, then you could categorically say that it is somewhat of a sports car, and especially since it only weighs 1,852 pounds, which is extremely light, far lighter than the likes of the Type 3, but also slightly heavier than the Beetle, but worthwhile being slightly heavier because you get this amazing looking body. Nonetheless, let's get out onto the open road and see what this car can do. So yeah, not having the most amount of power from the sports car from the period does obviously harm the sports car aspect, but it's certainly not as slow as you'd expect from a 53 horsepower vehicle, and yeah, I actually kind of have quite a lot of fun with it in terms of driving. Granted, that's usually down to the more twisting roads. The longer, more straight roads do obviously expose its underpowered engine, but outside of that, yeah, it's really rather decent and fun to drive, and yeah, I imagine it would be fun to race against other cult classic cars in this game, because that's the category it's under in this game. And I actually have done a drag race in the festival area, the 0.2 mile over one, and yeah, it was faster than all of the other cult classics it was against, like the Beetle, Reliant Supervan, the Austin Taxi and the like. So yeah, it's faster than the other kind of competition that it's been put up against, including the Morris Minor that we just passed. That was the second fastest that was up against as well. So yeah, it's faster than its competitors from the time that this car's been put up against in this game, and yeah, it's also faster than the Beetle and the Type 3, as it can do 0 to 60 in 17.5 seconds, and has a top speed of 87 miles an hour. Now that top speed is less than the Type 3, because that can do 96, but yeah, because this is significantly lighter than the Type 3, it is quicker to 60, and far faster at the top end, and in terms of 0 to 60 time, and then the Beetle as well. So yeah, faster than both in terms of acceleration, and faster than the Beetle in terms of top speed, means that yeah, this is one of the fastest vehicles Volkswagen made at the time, if not the fastest in terms of at least acceleration. So yeah, cracking vehicle, and yeah, it was, though I do like it, it was unfortunately replaced by front wheel drive, front engine Scirocco. I would have preferred that car to at least been rear wheel drive, to keep the kind of consistency with this kind of coupe styling that they were going for. But obviously that was a new car, new image, new basis as well, because obviously it was based on the Golf, so I really wouldn't have expected them to have made a rear wheel drive coupe since they're basing it on a front wheel drive hatch. So but yeah, I really do like this, and I'm glad that it's finally introduced onto this game. It's obviously not the first time it's been in a Forza game, but it's the first time that it's been on Forza Horizon 4, and yeah, you can get it via the festival playlist. You only have to get 50% of the festival playlist season of autumn to get this car, and it's well worth getting. And yeah, you've only got until next week, Thursday, 3:30 UK time, to get this car if you want to get it. And I would get it if I were you, because yeah, it's a classic. Didn't sell anywhere near the same amounts as a Beetle or other Volkswagen cars from the time, but in part because of that, and because it's far more stylish, far more you know, of a unique looking vehicle than those vehicles. Yeah, it really does sell itself, quite frankly. So yeah, get it if you want, or get it even if you don't want it, because it might well surprise you. And it's certainly a car that surprised me when I first tried it out on previous Forza games, and yeah, is able to hold its own on this open world game. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.